But that's exactly what it is. Garbage is gold. In every dump site, landfill, piles of waste, the litter you see on the streets, it's all gold, it's all resource.
And I think that there is no waste, there's just resources and nutrients that need to be recirculated.
Hello. Welcome to the Good Garbage Podcast. My name is Ved Krishna. My primary reason for existence has been to find ways to leave our wonderful planet cleaner. We will be speaking with material innovators, creators, and propagators to learn from them how we can build for scale and towards a regenerative future. Their stories will help us answer the big question, what is good garbage? This is a delightful conversation with two of my heroes. I traveled to Australia about 7-8 years back when we started venturing into food serviceware solutions and ended up meeting Richard and Gary from Biopak. The company had defied all odds to transform the space in the region with their authenticity, products, and deep practice of customer service. Eventually, one of my colleagues did further study on them to learn from their methods. That educated us and made us a better company. I have been waiting for these two amazing individuals to come and speak and educate us, and finally we get to hear from them. I am sure you will also learn so much about creating, operating, and growing a business in the space of sustainability through this interaction. Enjoy the exchange. Hello. I'm so happy today to have Richard Fine and Gary Smith, both from Biopak, today with me. And as you know, I was telling you guys before we started recording that when we actually started the thought of the podcast, I made a list of 10 people that I would really like on the podcast. And it was, of course, one of them was you. I'm so happy that we've made it finally. So I'm so excited about this recording. We're going to have a lot of fun as we chat and catch up on old times. So thank you so much for joining in.
Thanks for having us, Ved.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Super. So you guys are heroes of mine, and that's for multiple reasons. But we're going to get the Biopak story out first. And maybe Richard, starting from you, because you are the packaging guy here. And I know that, you were, as you say online, that you were born into packaging. So tell us your story. How did that transpire and lead to eventually the idea of Biopak?
Okay, let's go way back. So I've been in the packaging industry my whole life. My father started plastic molding in the early 70s. And so I've been exposed to that since I was a little kid. But I guess after working in the family business for 15 years, I thought to myself, I don't want to do packaging anymore. There's got to be something better. This is too much like hard work, working in the factory all day. Maybe I can do something more of an office job. And I looked to do IT consulting at the time and came across to Australia to pursue that dream. After working for IT for a couple of years, I thought this is definitely not my path forward. And I think at the time, it was around about 2005, I read a book called Cradle to Cradle. And that was just really an eye-opening book. It was talking about the circular economy. And it just really resonated with me and really made sense. And coincidentally, at the same time, I was reading an article in the local paper about one of the local franchises who were fined for supplying their product in a polystyrene cup. And I thought to myself, maybe naively so, surely that this is a simple problem that we can solve. And I thought, I knew that there were bioplastics were as an emerging field. I thought, this is something that we could definitely do. I approached the local science, government-funded CSIRO science organization and wanted to engage with them to develop a material that we could use to replace polystyrene cups. Unfortunately, at the very last minute, they decided to go with an established Australian company. I don't blame them. I was just a single-person startup, and they felt that this other company had more chance to, commercialize the technology. But not to be, disillusioned or discouraged, I continued with my path down to finding a business that could make use of bioplastics, something that could transform this linear business model that I'd been a part of all my life into something that was more circular. I thought surely I can use my inside knowledge of this industry to help transform it. I guess one of the other key factors was immigrating from Johannesburg to Sydney. One of the things that really sort of struck me was all the beautiful beaches around here. But then again, because I was so attuned to plastics, one of the things that I really was aware of was all these plastic pieces of straws or containers on the beaches. And that to me really was a part of that whole motivation to really do something to make a difference in the world. And I guess that was the impetus for Biopak starting around about 2006.
And Gary, how did he ever manage to convince you from your, serial entrepreneur days and doing all this IT stuff, How did Richard get under your skin and tell you, come, let's do this crazy thing of trying to clean up the world?
Look, I still haven't forgiven him, to be honest. Life would have been so different.
I can understand that.
Honestly, I'd have a tan, I'd be at the beach, I'd be more relaxed. No, in all seriousness, I think myself and Richard had a mutual friend. It was Richard's cousin and a friend of mine, and we met in 2007. And I think the initial discussions with us is that Richard had an ability to bring in a certain product, and it was a container load of products, which I said, yep, I can help. I think through my previous, 15 years of working since I left school, I went straight into running my own business, and it was always in manufacture, import, distribution, supply chain. So I think I built up 15 years worth of experience in that field. So when I met Richard, I guess I agreed to that particular container, and I think about 3-4 months later, it was still, hey, we're not having so much joy with this product, and we're looking at potentially another container. And in my head, I said, well, I'm not financier anymore. I'm a partner. What's going on over here? We haven't sold it. Where's the business? Where's the strategy? So I think initially we already found that the meeting of minds was Richie had this amazing talent in production, in packaging, this amazing knowledge about sustainability, this core value, best of breed value, I think unmatched on the planet of wanting to do better, both for people, planet. And the third leg of that was my expertise, which was profits. And that's a B Corp principle, people, planet, profit. But I guess my acumen of running businesses and Richard's knowledge of the packaging market and Richard's knowledge of, the sustainable landscape 15, 16, 17 years ago, and people today are still trying to understand what it is when we've had that knowledge, in our camp for almost 2 decades, was where we had the meeting of minds. And I guess that people look for an aha moment in these type of experiences and these type of stories. It was just one step at a time. None of us knew where it would take us. We just, I guess, inherently felt like this is a marriage and a good one, and let's take step one. And today, I guess we sit on step 4,672,000, and we still don't know what step 4,673,000 is, but we're just planning that next step.
That's amazing. So a couple of things there, Richard. You mentioned cradle to cradle. So Bill McDonough has been a very dear friend, one of the authors. And in fact, when I started the podcast, he was the first guest on the podcast. So you should hear the conversation. And of course, he will be delighted to meet you guys. So at some point, you guys should definitely, and he's got a great amount of ideas in this whole spectrum. And he's very passionate about packaging. But I want to ask you one more thing. So did that plastic knowledge help, Richard?
Oh, most definitely. I think, having that foundation and understanding how production of plastics works and recycling of these materials, I think was fundamental to being able to participate in this market space. Yes, I think that, when people told me something that couldn't be done, having the knowledge that I had, knew that was not true. So yes, it allowed me to, I guess, push the boundaries and to see what was possible. Definitely the knowledge of the industry was critical to the future success of the business.
Yeah, what is very, very impressive for me is that you guys started back in 2006. As Gary was saying, people are still figuring out this space. And the other thing is that you kind of stuck to your guns because, with your plastic background, it would have been very easy to, also have the plastic or something like that. So what made you guys really form this whole idea and stick to it and not digress from the basic principle that we are going to get better products into the market? So any of you, whoever wants to take that up.
Yeah, I think, it would have been easy to, I guess, yes, as you said, just start manufacturing plastic products when we hit all the brick walls. But from the very beginning, some of the things that really inspired me was companies like Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia. I felt that their business model being a B Corp, that was something that really, again, resonated with me. It wasn't about starting a business to make money. Fortunately, I got Gary and he focuses on that side of things. But for me, it was starting a business to make a difference in the world and to really change the world. And from the very get-go, I had that in mind, that we were going to be a B Corp business and we were going to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia with people, planet, and profits. And so that was always our core philosophy going forward, and we couldn't stray. We've had the opportunity over the years to stray, and I think we've always taken that very, very seriously and always considered what that overarching philosophy of the business is, and that's, a planet without waste and to reduce the impact of plastics on the planet. And I think that's, so we've been true to that, and we've stuck to our guns through thick and thin. And yes, it was really difficult in 2006 because there certainly wasn't the awareness, the consumer awareness of the environmental impacts and the human health impacts of plastic pollution. So there's a lot more understanding today from both brand owners and consumers about the impacts of plastics. And I feel that having stuck to our guns, we're really sort of positioned as thought leaders in this space as well. So, yeah.
I also think, it wasn't even in our minds. We weren't tempted at any stage, even in the early stage for the first 3-4 years when we were not profitable, when we were consuming cash, when things were really hard. It didn't even enter our minds thinking, let's just do plastic cups until we make some money, and then we can forge this dream ahead of packaging made from plants. It just never entered our mindset. And I think because we woke up and lived and breathed the idea that we could produce products from responsibly sourced raw materials. We could produce products that can be composted. We could produce products that were as functional as any fossil fuel derived product. And we walked the walk because we went to customers and we educated daily. I mean, I think I drove the country, specifically Australia and then New Zealand, and going door to door, just literally, educating people. There was no social media in those days, or very little, and we didn't have the funds to do mass marketing. So it was really a day-to-day campaign. So when you do something constantly and you believe in it, it just forms part of your being. And that's exactly what it was. And even today, I think that our competition continually stray. Even today, knowing that there's impending laws that are going to force people to where we live, that are going to force people towards the single-use plastic ban environment before the bans come in, even today when brand owners are saying, how can we do better? Let's do better. They still, our competition, looking to, let's just keep this alive, or let's just follow this and make a little bit of money there. It's just never been part of our DNA.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I was in a meeting just a couple of weeks back, and we were trying to launch this flexible, multi-layered, flexible packaging, compostable substrate. And we were with a converter, and the whole argument was, let the bans come. And then we'll do it. So you can be proactive, you can start pushing this. But he was like, no, there is no statutory need right now. So I'm not going to push in that direction. So it's not worth talking about ethics and things like that in those conversations. So we just lie to rest. So, of course, you might remember this, but I visited you. And then after that, I was so impressed that I got one of our guys, Alf, to come visit you. And I said, you have to go learn from them. And I remember he was so blown away. He was just like, I've met the best business ever. Forget any category. And he, of course, told me stories of your commitment to the customer. And at that time, it was something like within 24 hours, you'll deliver. Anybody kind of asks you for something, it'll be there with them in 24 hours. There was some subscription model. And he said, these guys carry products in the boot of their car. And they will turn around and go that direction if that's the need. So I would love to learn about this whole journey and how Biopak evolved from 2006. And this, we are talking maybe 2018, 19, when we experienced your chutzpah, of doing things in a very, very different way. So how did that evolution take place and growth take place? And maybe, Gary, you start from a business side and then we get Richard in.
I think it's always been in the culture of every business that I've been a part of. And the culture is we have to make sure that we give the customer a single lane to look at when they're looking at supply. So that's what customers see. And if they're looking at, and all of us in the world see this, I mean, we know what we know. We don't know what we don't know, which sits outside that frame. So when you look at the narrow channel, that has always been, to me, the customer has to see that we have great product. We have great sustainable values in that product. We have a lot of inventory of that product, and we deliver as and when they need that. And we give them no reason to look outside of that. We take maybe jobs away from them internally, or the requirement for additional people in their businesses, because we live in the customer's shoes at all times. And that's always been the culture of this business. So yes, as you said, as we started the business, it was all about how do we grow the business? And for me, the growth, it wasn't a planned PowerPoint 3-day meeting of all the people of how we. It was just natural that, like choosing sustainable products only we discussed earlier, the natural route for us we'll never let a customer down. And that's always been the ethos of this business. We've tried very hard to maintain that. So yes, we have to have heaps of inventory, more than our competition. We have to never run out of that inventory. We have to have a high quality of inventory. When they order before 11 o'clock, we've got to deliver it that day. Now, some people say we don't even need that service anymore because they don't mind next day. They do rely on us, maybe 1 in every 20 deliveries. I'm in trouble. I need the product now. So we continually process, improve, and drive this business to make sure that we always perform at our best. I don't sleep at night when I know we've let a customer down. If there's a customer that has complained, your delivery came today and there was a pallet missing, or your delivery came today and it was 10 minutes late and it missed my trucks going out to my stores, it's something that I will come back in the morning, I will pull everybody into my office. Or if there are 13 people involved in the chain, why did we pull it late? Why was it loaded for dispatch late? Why was it lifted onto the truck late? Why did the truck get there late? Why do we not have that inventory item in stock? So people get a bit aggravated with me in this business. And when we're north of 250 people, I'm still the person that pulls everybody in and says, where did this go wrong? I need to understand it, because if it's systemic, I need to fix it. If it's not systemic, I need to retrain individuals so they don't make the mistake again. So it's hard as you grow a larger, we're a medium organization. I guess we're certainly not the small business we were 15 years ago, but it is hard as you grow, but it's still very cool. I need people to think of us as that small, niche, knee-jerk startup business that just wants to get the job done at every second of every transaction of every day. And that's exactly the way we try to run this business. And it is consuming. It is tiring for people that don't have some of our energy, but it is the nature of the business. Service is everything. You can have everything. You can have everything that we've mentioned today. The best sustainable ethos, good product. But if you're not going to constantly live in the customer's shoes, deliver on time every time, they can't serve that burger, they can't make that coffee, and that'll just chase them away. So, from a commercial perspective, I try and make sure that we get it right every time. I think what I used to do, and I should go back to doing it, because we've got many people in many countries. But when we were smaller, as we got a new employee, I used to go to the cafe down the road, one of our first customers here in Bondi Junction. And I used to phone up ahead and speak to one of the guys there, Johnny Bravo. I say, Bravo, empty the cupboard. That was the code word. We used to go behind the counter and I used to sit with the new staff individual and say to them, right, out of cups on top of the coffee machine, just go grab one from the cupboard. Then they used to go to the cupboard and there was nothing in it. That's the importance of us delivering on time. That's the importance. That's the nature, whether it be McDonald's, good customers of ours, whether it be the small cafe on the corner. There's no hierarchy of I'm going to support because it's a big customer. Every customer has to get the same treatment, like they're our only customer. Like we literally wake up every day and live and breathe their business. And that I try to make the culture and the mindset of everybody in the business.
Where is the Gary Smith University that I can send my entire team to?
People, I would say that people don't know me, want to go to that place. People that know me want to stay as far away as possible.
Maybe I should volunteer myself to train with you. Can I come and intern with you for a month and get my act in order, get off this big company stuff and meetings and planning for 3 days and not getting anything done.
Just to let you know, that school is open. It's 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Those are my free hours.
I'm happy to do that. Richard.
Yeah, Ved, I think it was very important for us to do things differently. In 2008, we were a very small company. We were in the market competing with well-established large companies that had been in the market forever. How did we stand out from the crowd? How did we compete in this marketplace? I think that what we did would have been impossible even if it was just a couple of years earlier. Thanks to the internet, we were able to, make ourselves appear like we were bigger than we were. And then we offered the value add that others weren't doing by giving that customer service, that same day delivery. Suddenly we had something we could compete with. It wasn't about price, it was about service. And that was key to the success of the business. And we continue to leverage technology to compete against others in the marketplace who have overheads 3 or 4 times as much as what we have, because we are that much more efficient thanks to our implementation of technological solutions within the business.
I think I'd like to add one thing to that, in that I remember doing PowerPoint presentations. We do them from time to time. I'm opposed to them, but they do sometimes appear on screens. We did one a couple of years ago, and there was a thing that said the customer is always right. And I don't mean this to sound arrogant. I took over control of I'm not the one that prepares the PowerPoint presentations. My attention span gives me about 3 lines of an email and 3 lines of a PowerPoint presentation. But I took over the keyboard. and I changed the customer is always right to Biopak is always right. Now, that sounds pretty arrogant. But my view is that we have 15 years experience. Honestly, if it was politically correct, I'd turn around, take my shirt off and show you the bruises on my back from the beatings I've taken from all the mistakes we've made. So we've made those mistakes. We're entering a field of gearing people to sustainable products. We're entering a field of developing. I mean, we're a packaging company. We've got 9 permanent developers in this process, improving our ERP, our integration with customers. We've got real expertise that we've been privileged to sit and work through and live for the last 15 years. So the customer may not know what we know with sustainable packaging and some of the technology that we've developed in this business. So if a customer says, I want to start in 3 months, you can't say the customer is all right, it is always right, and say, yep, we'll get the product to you in 3 months. We're going to go back and say, we're going to do 5 months. And they're going to say, no, I can't do 5 months. And we're going to say, if you want to do it properly, you have to do 5 months. You can go with a competitor that's 3 months, they will let you down. You've got to go through processes of, portion control, potentially testing substrates. We do a lot of innovation and new product development, and it needs time. If a customer wants to say, we want you to deliver to 400 restaurants, we got to say, let's slow down. Let's see where those restaurants are. Let's see if we have the ability to do that, to assist them. So there's many areas where our point of difference is we go into the customer with an education, be in the forefront of what we propose. There's no pricing in that. In the first 20 meetings, it's about, here's how we can change your packaging profile from fossil fuel-based to sustainably based. Then we take a picture of what they have and what they can change to. We give our ability of manufacture, our ability to create some excitement because we've got a good marketing engine over here, our ability to partner, our ability to develop, innovate, change, what they have in their portfolio of products to make it better. And once we've done that, they get, I guess, a taste of, our strengths and abilities. It's not about the customer's always right. We absolutely have to share our knowledge and expertise, and they share their knowledge of their business and their expertise. And I guess the collaboration is important. That's our difference, because when people come to businesses like ours and want to partner us, they give a spreadsheet and say, please quote. That's the last thing we do. We analyze every item. We analyze their business. We try and see what expertise they have. And where we have expertise and they don't, it could be on sustainable packaging. It could be on many aspects. We share, we educate, we learn together. And that's, I guess, our point of difference.
That's intense. but I also see a couple of things there from my own experience. This desire to satisfy everybody many times, if we end up with that desire, can kind of take you down a rabbit hole. And you mentioned like having excessive inventory. And what I find is that food service is not food service, as such. And like you said, analyzing every customer's requirement and coming out with the right product. It's also different segments within the segment, right? And institutional catering is different from a QSR to an event to a travel and, all those kind of things. And if you're trying to service everything, that must be a challenge. So how do you decide that this is the inventory I'm going to build? Because you can have 10 different designs of 9-inch plates, right? So, and that can be a huge challenge. And the customer will say, I want round and white, and somebody else wants square and brown. And so how does that decision making happen, and how do you prioritize? And that's probably coming from your idea of Biopak is always right. So how does that blend in?
Well, a similar philosophy is I'll sell you anything you want as long as it's in our catalog. So that's, you have to keep it simple. And that's literally what we say to people. We'll give you anything you want as long as it's in our catalog. And we've deviated the last couple of years from that, and I'll explain why. So pretty much we have to keep things simple. It's a very complex business. Supply chain, any supply chain business at scale is complex. But we do have, this is our product. And people say, oh, we'd like you to do X, Y, Z. No, this is our product. It does sound slightly, forceful, but that's how we get to deliver on our promises. If we just make everything for everybody and have multiple SKUs, and we have competition that do it, they constantly run out. And you know what? If one of our competition, let's say, or even us, 99% are the core products and we're reliable, and 1% is the will do anything, run out of the 1%, people lose faith on you in the 99%. So we've stayed pretty core on that. To be honest, it's been a very big challenge over the last year, but we're pretty good at it. But then we did enter 2 years ago, we decided to enter in a big way the QSR market. And in the QSR market, you can't dictate to a 200 chain restaurant, you're going to buy what we tell you to buy. They're going to say, no, we want this shaped bowl. They want to say, we want this length straw. Or With volume, we absolutely have. We have a great new product development team, really good, which is very different to what we've done in the past. We've got an amazing new product development lead. We came across from McDonald's, and when the McDonald's, I guess, want to put in a new, burger or patty, or they know the intense investigation that needs to take place. So we've got a whole project management team for new product development. Now that might be for our own range. It might be a QSR coming on board where we have to bespoke a range for them. Typically, that is at scale and of value. It doesn't really complicate the model as long as we really put it through all the phases of that project management and make sure we've got proper, we use a tool here called Monday.com, proper touch points to make sure we implement everything we need to. We haven't been perfect at it, don't get me wrong. We're getting better. So 90% is this is what we do. I guess 10 and growing is we're working with KFC on a project here with their mesh and gravy, for example, and that's not typically what we do. We've got to put extra lining on the tub. We've got to make sure it can go into a heated unit for at 60 degrees for an hour. So that's our strength, is understanding customers' requirements, is developing products for them. But at the end of the day, it gets added once we've gone through a really structured process, which has been unstructured as we learn, but getting structured. We just add a SKU, which is very simple. I sell 100 a month. I need 300 in inventory and 300 on the water at any one time. Make sure that goes into our procurement model.
And Richard, what is it like to evolve a new product or a new idea? How does that whole iteration take place? Of course, you're getting a demand from the market, but there is a whole thing to work with, right? On the product development side, the supply side, how do you go about doing that?
So new products, we're constantly looking at new materials, new substrates, and it's not always easy to bring in a new product. You don't know what you don't know. And we've had experiences in the past where we've brought in a new product only to discontinue it a couple of months later because either it doesn't fulfill consumer requirements or the environmental credentials are questionable. So a good example would be in 2011, we decided we would launch PLA straws, thinking, oh, well, that's a fantastic solution for single-use straws. And then it wasn't soon after we launched that I started learning a little bit more about the impacts of PLA when it enters the marine environment, and straws having been one of those products that most of it ends up in the marine environment. It was pretty clear that a PLA straw would be just as damaging to the environment as a regular plastic straw. It could persist in the marine environment for decades. And so once we understood that, we very quickly discontinued the range and started to educate our client base on why we did that so that they wouldn't potentially be misled by any others in the industry. So developing new products is a very time-consuming process. It requires, obviously, a significant amount of testing, but at the end of the day, it also needs to be commercially viable. So there's a lot of products we can bring to market that are fantastic and maybe meet all the functional and technical requirements, but don't meet the commercial requirement. In this industry, pricing is still very sensitive, and we have to balance off, I guess, innovation with cost performance and functional performances. It's an exciting industry because it's evolving at the moment so quickly. They talk about the paperization of the packaging industry, and everyone is now moving away from plastic to fiber, and that comes with a whole of its own potential issues with deforestation and utilizing virgin trees. So we need to be at the forefront and be looking at alternative fibers and, I guess, understanding before we launch any new product into the market, is it truly a more sustainable alternative to what's out there? Because often at face value, it might appear like something is more sustainable. When you start digging into it, you very soon realize that maybe it's not everything that you thought it was. And I think it's really important to be transparent and authentic and to not only promote all the good that we're doing, but be honest about potential areas where we have room for improvement.
I think we've made mistakes. We've gone with products we thought were spectacular, but we live and learn. And that might have been, say, in 2015, and 4 years later, we think, and we'll be very honest about it. In the annual report, we put a sustainability report out in the business, and we go through, hey, here's the good we've done, here's the mistakes we've made, and it's a learning curve. And it's not perfect, and it's constantly evolving and developing, and we're constantly researching. As the market develops, if you look at the market right now, you'll see that sustainability is way up in everybody's mind when 5 years ago it wasn't. With that brings a whole plethora of progress in our researchers, progress in our professors, progress in the amount of educated people in research and development at universities. With that it opens up a whole new world of understanding. So, we live and learn as well, and, we're not perfect.
And often when these new products come to market, it's really important, as I said before, not to take it at face value, to really understand what impact they could potentially have going forward. Another good example would be aqueous dispersion coating. A lot of people saying plastic free. For me, it was kind of like, well, don't just accept that statement that it's plastic free. Is it really plastic free? And when you start doing that investigation, then suddenly you realize maybe it's not. And you don't know what you don't know. Another good example of that is PFAS. We weren't even aware that there was this PFAS chemical in our pulp to begin with. And as we evolve and as science evolves and we have more techniques to better understand microplastics or toxic chemical additives to packaging, then it allows us to better understand the impact. And it's our responsibility, once we know those things, is to share that with our clients, with brand owners, with consumers, to educate everyone so we can bring everyone together on this journey to becoming more sustainable.
Yeah, I think truth, trust, they seem to be running through the kind of process, whether it's time to deliver, whether it's the product quality. We're going to be honest about it. We know, what we don't know, what we don't know. And I think that's really important to build long-term relationships, because then people can actually trust us for the long term. Okay, if they don't know, they're going to own up, and we get to know, okay, this is not good. We are going to try and change it. So we're going to be honest towards our cause. And I think that's a big difference in today's time, especially when the customer can call us out very easily, right? Very quickly, and even some lie can spread so quickly. So we have to make sure that, at least from our perspective, we are being as honest as possible. Staying with the product range, because that's fascinating when you say, Gary, that you can take anything till it's in your catalog. I presume it goes through a lot of rigor to reach your catalog. But how do you decide that, you're going to have a different shape or a different unbleached, bleached, or a different size? So how does that happen? Is it basically based on the amount of demand, or there is more behind that decision?
So the good answer would be, look, we have once a month, 1 day sessions where we bring in all the stakeholders and we look at the market and we see where, but that's not the answer. That would be the good answer. We constantly, it's in our nature. We now have 20, 30 people out on the road. We sit constantly. We've got a great new product development team. We've got an industrial designer who's Sarish, who's just, the most talented person in the field internationally. We've got a great QA team led by Tung Tsang. So we've got people out there looking, thinking, breathing. And what we have is this unbelievable pipeline of demand. Honestly, hundreds and hundreds of people contact us, customers, saying, oh, I want to develop this product. I want to build this product. Now, we had to take them aside and say, right, guys, whoa. You working till 12 o'clock at night, weekends, just to try and get through all the inquiries. And that's where we employed, a team to just qualify all of them. But through that process, we do get great ideas of what would work and what we should be doing. Sometimes it's customer driven. Sometimes it's just individual driven that come through that department to develop new products. That might be 50% of the time, honestly, because our customers, they're closer to the market than we are, and they're using products that they need improvements on. So they'll come to us to develop those improvements with them. I say that's maybe 40% of the time. 60% of the time we do sit and we do think, right, this is where we need to look to expand new products. Simple things that will make maybe a big difference. We firstly look at, okay, what's not available in a compostable product? What's still very much plastic and nothing on the horizon to replace, and that drives us. But then we even look at, our current products and say, how can we expand that? I mean, it's got two drivers. One is we like growing the company, we like revenue growth, but we also like to create, very much like to create new products to suit markets that, didn't have the application that we've developed the product for.
So, so just moving from there, of course, when you have a plethora of offerings, you also have a plethora of supply chain, like complications in the supply chain and a bunch of suppliers. How do you build that? Because, of course, presumably a lot of it may be imported. It's being produced somewhere else. There's a lead time to that. There's that whole complexity, and you have a multitude of substrates. And that presumably means a multitude of suppliers. So how does that work out, and how do you strengthen that continuously?
Look, and we've been pretty poor at it over the last 6 months, but we're now much better. So, in almost 2 decades, we've had about a 3-4 month, stray. I think what's important, Ved, is that, again, like our catalog, we will sell you whatever we want as long as we're producing it in our factories now. That is not always possible. I've really limited the amount of partners we have, and they are partners. So we invest with them in machinery. We invest with them in helping them use the new technologies. Richard will spend time with them in getting new substrates into their facilities. They work very closely with us, and they're great partners of ours. Now, there was this stray when I looked away of, I found a great new product and we're going to get it for this customer. I want to give people bandwidth and the ability to make their own decisions, and that's how we grow. But we've also got to we need a gatekeeper there, and we've got some good gatekeepers in our head of QA and our head of sustainability, Tsung and Leah. We know very simply, you can't go outside of our partners. It's simple. If there's something, we just had a recent major win in New Zealand. It was really an amazing product which holds a burger, and it has to be really leak proof. So it's not a normal burger clam where you see some liquid coming through the base. Leak proof, and it's sealed once you put the burger in, and you tear off the middle, so you're holding basically the base to eat the burger. It's a really good product. To make that in a compostable version was challenging. So we invested with one of our suppliers. We found them, we helped them find the board, a substrate board called CNPC, which will give us the ability to print high gloss, or its ability to have an aqueous coating so we can have a compostable product, and also give the ability so you can have that tear off, which is clean, because I guess if it's unlined, it's easy to have a tear off. When it's lined, it might aesthetically look poor when you tear it, and it tears into the branding. So it's something that we had no expertise in none of our facilities, so we built the expertise. And the idea with the customer is we'll build that, we'll invest in the machinery, but it has to be within one of our facilities. We have to have the raw material close to that facility so, we don't run out. Because, it might be we find a great raw material in South America, and then the demand goes up, and we've got a 9-week lead time to get the raw material from the wrong place. All of these things we take into account. We typically, 99% or 95% of our business is the same partners with the same raw material, so the lead times are pretty slick. And when we exceed the machine's capacity, we face some challenges. Hopefully we're good at that. We monitor when we get to 80, 90%, and we invest in new facilities and new machines. But with new products, you've got to be very careful, as you say. As you get excited about new substrate, gets excited about new raw materials, we can implement it as soon as we're prepared in our facilities, because we know that they've got a great attention to detail with their quality, with their food safety, with their output. They know how we work. I do sound very pleasant on this podcast, but if any suppliers are listening, they're not going to recognize this guy, because you deliver on time. You hold the right amount of raw material. You make sure you actually get it onto the container on time. Or there's emails, and they've got big fonts and maybe some language that is questionable and poor spelling because it's typed really angrily. So it really is something that we spend time, like we have the attention to detail with our customers. Let's have product. Let's get it out to you. Let's make sure that you don't run out. Let's make sure when you open that cupboard to serve a coffee, there's product in there. The same goes with our supply base. We really have to work closely and quite vigorously to make sure we have principles, stick to them, and expand where it's manageable and in control.
Yeah, I would just like to sort of reiterate that the relationship that we have with our supply chain partners, with our manufacturers, is, I believe, something unique. It's not just, a factory that we work with this month and then another one the next month. These are long-term relationships. We go out there and we find the best of the best in these spaces with the best equipment, the best people, the best technology, and the best products. And then we forge long-term relationships where there's a mutual benefit for both of us going forward. When it comes to materials, we are very, very thorough with testing, regulating, monitoring to ensure that they stay within the predefined specifications, to ensure that we are delivering sustainable products to the market. And we'll do random unannounced testing and audits of our factories to keep them on their toes. But at the end of the day, I think there's a mutually beneficial relationship and that mutual understanding from our suppliers. If they do well by us and meet our expectations, that ultimately there will be growth for them going forward. And that certainly has been our sort of strategy historically, and one that we plan on using going forward.
I'll just add one more thing, sorry, in that, talk about supply base, even our warehouses, we create standards. Our standards are motivated to make sure the customer has the best experience. Same as at the beginning of this podcast, you asked, you came over here, we saw we delivered on time, we had stuff in our boot. That was many years ago. Trust me, there's nothing in my boot right now. Couldn't fit. But yeah, I mean, we really have that attention to deal with the customer, but that has to. So we push our suppliers. We push them to be competitive. We push them to buy the right raw materials. We push them to invest in the right machinery. We push them to improve their procedures so they can have a 6-week lead time if I order 10 million coffee cups or 50 million coffee cups. That makes them better businesses, in my opinion. And maybe you can ask me. I'll give you a list, and you can have them on the podcast. I really think our ecosystem benefits from our absolute addiction to be, to have 100% process brilliance at all times. And that's, I mean, we try and achieve it. The one thing I would add to that for light comedic value is it's a very difficult place to live in the world of Gary, because I never see the 99% we get right, Ed. Not with any staff or suppliers. All they ever hear from me is the 1% we get wrong. And it's not great to live in that world. They gave me a T-shirt, my staff, a little while ago, and said, if you want a pat on the back from Gary, don't hold your breath, get a massage.
It's a similar world I live in, so I presume we are both equally hated. So
Yeah.
My wife tells me you have to see the 99% good that they did. All you're pointing out is that 1% that didn't get done. I'm like, even a document, Gary, my eyes just goes to, the grammatical mistake that is there, not to the beautiful letter that's been drafted. And I'm like, seriously, you have to mess this up?
Yeah, listen, it's a personality flaw, but
Yeah, it's a personality flaw for sure.
I got lots of flaws. That's one of them. I can't correct. I've tried, but it's.
I'm still trying. I haven't given up on myself. So hopefully one day so my wife says you can start with a good thing and then add the issue, but I forget very quickly. So just coming back to the supply, because I know it's complex, this whole world of supply. And what I want to learn from you, and I'm sure a lot of listeners would want to learn, how did you go about building, say, quality consistency? Because you can have a multitude of suppliers, and of course today you are huge, who works well, who doesn't work well, but I'm sure you had your challenges, as you were building this business. Maybe there was this off quality that came. How do you deal with that? And then, because it's not really your fault, but the supply is yours, so how do you go back? How do you deal with it? How did you evolve it to a more foolproof system where the supplier is delivering the spec that you need each time?
I'm interested to hear Gary's response to this, but yes, look, at the end of the day, it's an ongoing relationship. Even with our existing suppliers who've been around for decades, there's still constant engagement and push to improve quality. There's always going to be issues in manufacturing. That's just the nature of the beast. It's making sure that you implement processes to proactively address any quality issues. It's okay to have a quality issue once, but if you continue to have that same quality issue time and time again, then there's a fundamental problem that needs to be resolved. So Gary has no patience for anyone who's going to be delivering sub-quality product. And yes, we've certainly had that. And those conversations, especially in the early days when maybe you only have one supplier and you don't have a second lined up, it's a bit difficult. We'll always give them the opportunity to improve. We will be honest and open with them and very direct, is Gary's way in reading them the right act, that either you sort the quality issue out or we find another supplier. And fortunately, today, we're in a position where any supplier doing business with Biopak, they've already seeked that out because we have obviously the volumes and the business for them. So they want to remain suppliers to Biopak, and usually will do whatever it takes to improve their quality so that it meets our expectations and our customers' requirements. Now I'll pass over to the more straight up approach to Gary.
I think I'll record the next. We're a quality issue. What I'll do, Ved, before you publish this podcast, I'll record the Zoom meeting I have, and that'll probably give you an idea why suppliers really have great attention to detail. You do have that beep. If I do swear in a podcast, it beeps it out, correct? No, I think, again, it's really important that manufacturers are always going to have issues. No, you can never get it right permanently. It's impossible. So our manufacturers do know about our intense, striving towards best of breed, and our customers expect it from us from a quality perspective. So, when we go to manufacturers, they are best of breed. We make sure machinery is best of breed, manufacturer practices are best of breed. We do have a better quality product, I believe, than most in the market. I wouldn't say all, because a lot of good companies out there. But certainly, I don't believe there's a higher quality. But yeah, when we do have issues, I believe in punitive damages, and that's as simple as it gets. If we have a batch of products and one cup in that batch or one bowl in that batch, I will isolate the entire batch that day, not a day later and not 2 days later, that day. Now, that batch might have produced, we got batch codes on everything, we got traceability, everything. It might be 10 cartons of cups, it might be 800 cartons of cups. I remove it. I put it in our dispatch for about 2 weeks for our supplier to collect it, and then I recycle or compost it. There's no tolerance, and I reduce it off the bill. So they know. I can tell you right now, there's no better system than punitive damages. If you're going to be lazy, let's say you have a power outage in a production facility, and that always happens. When the power comes back on and you immediately start producing, you're going to have issues because you need to calibrate the machines. You need to run maybe 100,000 bowls or forks or cups through that process just to make sure you test, you get back. You don't start producing immediately. Some are tempted to. Some are tempted to save costs in order to, I don't know, be more profitable. I don't know what. I believe our factories are better than that and are best of breed at that. But not to say that they haven't, let their guard down here and there. It's very simple. They know if they let their guard down, it's just coming off their bill. So whatever the saving is, they might find if you run out of paper and you load the next batch. And again, you don't take the last 3 minutes of the last reel of the paper because there might be issues in the first reel of the next batch. If you're going to you might be saving $1,000. It's going to cost you about $20,000 in the bill I take off if I have one quality issue. So yes, we work with them. It's important that we've got a great head of QA in this business. Toon Tsang is a highly talented individual. We need more of him. But yeah, our suppliers know that he will drill down and they cannot pull the wood over his eyes. We've got really good sustainability officers in this business with Leo that manages and makes sure that they're compliant. So they know that they sort of interrogated on an hourly basis with our standards and controls. Even with that, sometimes we can't be over everything. So the ending of that quality hunger is that just give us faulty products. And I think customers enjoy that. I mean, I have a saying, turn a lemon into lemonade. We're going to have products that fail out there. It's just the nature of the industry. Customers love that they hear me shouting and screaming, that we send a replacement out that day, that we pick up from wherever they are. If they've got 40 sites or 400 sites, we pick up all affected batches, we isolate them in our warehouse, and we segment it, and we either recycle or return it to the manufacturer. They can do what they want with it. I certainly don't want it. Within days. Not within, let's look at it, within days. So I think that's how we maintain quality standards, by very, simple mechanisms of let's isolate the problem immediately and rip it out of the system so we don't, replicate that customer experience.
And make it incredibly painful for the manufacturers if they do try and slip through, poor quality stock.
And how do you go about identifying these suppliers? Because I presume now they are very, very set. But I'm sure it must have been a lot of effort and journeying for you guys to actually identify the first ones and then again, I guess it's a continuous process as well, right? Because you come out with new substrates and new materials. So then again, it's a new qualification system. And I presume from the beginning to now, there must have been an evolution of qualification itself. What does that mean? And what does that imply for the manufacturer? So what does that process look like?
There's a lot of trial and error, in finding the new suppliers at the end of the day. When we go out there, before we take on any supplier, we have a checklist of certain things that they need to have. They need to obviously have ISO certification, ISO 9000 food standards, food safety, quality standards. They have to have OH&S compliance to BRC, all the major standards that are required for our industry. They have to hold certificates for all of those as first and foremost before we even start the discussion. Once they have that, then we start the discussion with them. We'll audit their factories. We will do everything possible to understand the capability, and then we'll slowly, depending on what product they're supplying, if they're a similar product to what we already got, we'll slowly start allowing them to feed product into us, and we'll evaluate their performance over time. Yeah, there's always going to be, I guess, we're always looking for those new suppliers. We're working very closely with our existing suppliers to understand their innovation pathways going forward and what we can leverage together with them. The new suppliers, I think we're getting better at it. I think we already know what to look out for from our past experiences, and so it becomes a little bit easier, but never a foolproof way to, I guess, onboard new suppliers. And then obviously we've had the fortune of also acquiring some companies over the years, and in acquiring those companies, we often acquire their manufacturers as well that have been dealing with them for many years. So that sometimes can make our job a little bit easier, sometimes makes it a bit more difficult depending on who we've acquired and who the supplier is. But then we can often consolidate them together and maybe find a better supplier.
Now, I think just to add to that, there's a gate. There's a gate you have to walk through if you want to supply the company. Richard's right. Food safety, factory safety, or factory certifications. And I'll add to the ethical certification. They have to have ethical certification, PSCI, or there are many standards that we have where we want to make sure that they're treating people as well as we would treat people. And those are very high standards that we keep. So that knocks us out of a lot of supply, unfortunately. So all those documents, all those certifications, ethical, food safety, factory, environmental, all of that, and they have to have compost certifications. They have to have all of that. That doesn't tell you if they're going to manufacture a good product, but it is the start. We have to bleed them in. That's the bottom line. We will evaluate it, audit it. Look, there are many factories that look amazing, but it's about the people attitude that you've got to ultimately witness through experience of product. So we bleed companies in. A couple of years ago, we were really struggling with coffee cup lids in capacity at our current facility. We've never had a problem with them, but we're struggling with capacity, and it's important that we don't let customers down. So yeah, we found a new facility. It was a great facility. Every box was ticked. We started in just one city, one state of Australia. Supply went great for 6 months. I thought, okay, is it time to expand them? And then all of a sudden we started experiencing issues. The simple issues, A coffee cup lid has a hole in it typically. Most do, so you can sip your coffee. They had a punching machine that was blunt and didn't punch the hole in. So people got a whole lot of lids without a punch hole in the coffee machine. That tells me a story and cut. So it's not a perfect science. It's not that you can evaluate and be 100% convinced that this is the right. It's about bleeding them in, get through the gate first, get some products, let our QA team test the products thoroughly, make sure they're comfortable with it, make sure the factory knows that do not change substrate without us telling us. Otherwise, we're going to ship the whole lot back. And then it's about quality of product through a step up with the facility. So when we have a major client looking for a product, I wouldn't even begin to think of using a facility that was maybe a year or a year and a half or 2 years. We go back to our traditionals because we know they'll never get let down. And that's when there's a major business that wants to give you volume. If there's a smaller business that has small volume, you could potentially use new suppliers because we've got redundancy in all our suppliers. So it's not a major. If we have one quality issue, we can move it. But if a customer comes in and says, I want 40 million coffee cups a year, or 40 million takeaway containers a year, we either go to try it and test it or we don't go.
Yep, that's a lot of learning. So coming back to what you were saying earlier, Gary, and that was our experience as well when we were actually trying to learn from you from afar. We actually met some of your customers and they were like, we will stick with Biopak even if they were to charge us more. It was that kind of conviction. And they knew that Biopak may cost a little bit more, but it's going to give them quality and consistency. And that was something that was remarkable for me to see as a business owner, that, just winning somebody's confidence makes them even happy to pay you more. So that was very interesting. So looking at the price and the cost side now, how do you see that? Because in the end, yes, you have to earn money, but there is also competition. And there is also not just competition within the substrates that you are doing. There's multiple substrates, right? There is in some markets, there is still foam and there is still different plastics that will cost a lot lesser. So how does that whole journey pan out where you are able to convince a customer that it's okay to pay a little bit extra and get a better product?
Yeah, it's very difficult. And first of all, it's a different market from 5 years ago. It's hyper competitive at the moment. So you do get an element of the market right now that says, oh, we love your supply, we love your company, but you $40, I can get it for $39, and they'll buy elsewhere. There's no doubt about it. I think our quality customers, and we have growth. In a declining recessionary environment in food and beverage in most territories, we do have growth. And the reason why we have growth is the people that look beyond the $40, $39, are we actually not more expensive? When we look at the overhead, we save them by our management, by our efficiency. When we look at never running out of stock so they can serve the product, the reliability the cost of running out of stock is a lot more than the cost of having, too much stock, or the cost of, $1 per carton. So that they value in their consistency. When we're constantly delivering DIFOTs, delivery in full on time of 99 point something%, it counts for a lot. And they get to rely on that. They rely on that efficiency. So I would say we're not expensive if you take all factors into account. But yes, it depends in what markets. In most markets, I would say respectfully at the bottom end of the market, people just buy on price. We'll win some, we'll lose some. Okay. In where we first to market, people know about us, and as you experience, they just trust our reliability, and we will not deviate. So we will not go. In Singapore, was a hard market to get into. 50% of the takeaways, hawker centers, is polystyrene there. It's really a horror situation from a sustainability perspective in such an amazingly progressive country. We just stuck to our guns. We do plant-based compostable packaging. And people, we first to market, they trust us, they rely on us. When they want to take the sustainability step, they come to us. And apples for apples, we're not more expensive in that we will, do custom printing for them, we'll brand with them, we'll look after their portion control, we'll look after the inventory, make sure we deliver on time. We're not in, but there's certain markets we've gone into late, like the UK, where we're absolutely battling because it's price, 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 price. Until we stamp our authority there, that we got a difference. And we do have customers that know that difference with us and trust us and are growing with us. But very difficult market when they say, your compostable cup's $30, I can get it for $28. And it's the wrong substrate. It doesn't have the right certification. There's no ethical standards in the factories that they're producing in. It's not FSC board, which is so important when you're buying paper. It has to be, from new growth forests as opposed to any paper in the world. There's a whole lot that goes into it. As I say, apples for apples, we won't be competed with. But there are a lot of people that just look at their cost per carton. And yes, it's not a market. It's not an area that we can grow in because it's frightfully competitive there. And we could meet that price, Ved. We can buy paper from anywhere. We can drop our quality standards at our factory. We can drop our product quality standards. We can get rid of all the people that I've got 9 people in developing code in this business for better integration with customers, for better, web access, for customers know exactly where they stand with every delivery, with stockholding. They can have a look at their stockholding in our business, so they've got transparency and understanding. We can drop our investment in marketing to brand and help customers, when they sell our product, it's the Biopak brand, I think, carries some value for them. We can drop all of that. We can have, instead of 40 marketing people, we can have 5 like every other business. We can have, we can outsource our development in this business to one company and not have 9 internal people. We can drop our quality standard, drop our factory standards, and be at that $38. But that's not our world.
I think Gary really quite eloquently describes the value add as a tapestry that we have at Biopak. It's not one single thread. It's a whole lot of threads that add up to what is Biopak. And so we've had customers historically say, oh, you know what? I'm going with this other brand. They're 5 cents cheaper. And they come running back because that 5 cents cheaper is great while it lasts. But when they run out of stock and they can't deliver on time, then suddenly that 5 cents doesn't mean much. And they come running back to Biopak knowing that we have the reliability and the consistency that they have come accustomed to. And that's, I think, something that we see time and time again, people thinking that they're going to go and save a bit of money and switch across only to come running back to us again. So it's not just one thing. It's not just the price. It's not just the quality. It's not just the service. It's all of these and more combined together that make us who we are.
The Good Garbage podcast has been brought to you by Pakka. Pakka has been creating solutions in the food packaging, carry, and service space. Pakka utilizes sugarcane residue and upcycles it into amazing products. Their latest offering is a compostable, flexible packaging solution for the chocolate and confectionery industry. The products are available in the Indian subcontinent and in North America now. Pakka is also building an end-to-end solutions for customers in the food service and delivery space. For any query, do email at connect@pakka.com, and Pakka is Pakka. Now, back to the show.
Absolutely. I was just thinking of this incident that I had early on, and it was a huge buyer, and they were an event space, and the guy would just argue on price, and people were like, okay, that's understandable. You're getting a local product at a cheaper price. And then we just sat in their food hall area, and we noticed that the servers were actually lining up 3 of the trays, one under the other, so that it wouldn't leak. And we went back and we actually videoed it. We said, this is what you're doing. You, instead of giving 1 tray, you're giving 3 because the quality is so bad that it leaks. So the guy is serving is having to, line it up so that the customer doesn't spill his meal. But imagine this, like the purchase guy said, that's not in my KPI. My KPI is per product price low. How many products are used is not something that they're going to monitor. So I still want the low price, which is so interesting. And then you mentioned earlier, Gary, on larger companies, you mentioned some really big names. And I've noticed it's even more sensitive there. And then, like the big fast food chains, burger companies, we went to them with clamshells, and again, one of them was of course branding, because they're heavily printed, and then of course a box board is much cheaper than a molded fiber, for example. So how does one tackle something like that, where it is a more sustainable product that we are providing, but one, it doesn't give them the kind of branding they want, and the second is it is going to cost higher, so you kind of don't even start a discussion. You kind of immediately, they say nope, doesn't work for us.
Look, I mean, with the larger brands, they have to take the step, and a lot of them will wait for legislation to take the step, or consumer pressure. I was speaking to a radio interview the other day in Western Australia, where they've just brought in all these laws from the 1st of September. Every takeaway container has to be compostable. Every cup has to be compostable. And the question was, how are people going to accept this? I said, the consumer has taken the step before the legislators. 40-50% of people are already buying sustainable packaging. When law comes in, you're really only pitching to the 40-50% that didn't want to do it because they were hanging out until the last minute to buy a cheaper product. So yes, when you're pitching to a major brand and they want to use a plastic product, you have no hope. They're not going to change it. The decisions are made at the very high echelon of their hierarchy, and we do pitch to them. We absolutely go. They come to us with their regular tenders and they say, hey, we've got this plastic tub and this paper, PE lined paper container. We won't pitch that. We'll pitch what a sustainable option is. And for me, we will give them the option that they ultimately will be taking. So some, we might wait a year or two, but at least when they're ready to make the decision, we're in the game. And that's what's most important to me. It's all about energy and effort, not necessarily about results. Results will come. I'm convinced. I've been convinced for 20 years. So the results will come. So yes, we have to innovate sometimes. As you said, for example, one of the examples you had was, when I want to give pulp. Pulp is cheaper than paper, but it can't be branded, but it can, Vet. We've innovated ways of printing and pad printing. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. We've got many brands that have gone with pulp and a wet molded pulp product with a pad print. I think those that look for the aesthetics of their brand and those that look for the reputation, sustainable reputation of their product, they want to be a point of difference, will take the step. And so many have, large brands, so many have without having to because of legislation. So there'll always be a price gap between a plastic product and a sustainable product, or a plastic lined product and a sustainable product. And people are waiting for that gap to disappear. It will never. It will never. A lot of people come to me and say, well, we'll start that product with you. But then when you get to scale, then obviously that gap's going to, we're at scale. It doesn't get better. If I get a demand for another 20%, it's about buying more machines but producing at the same cost. So it's there forever, and legislation is not the driver. I think consumer pressure, and brand owners have been very responsible in that respect. We literally have had most of them come to us, mostly Australian names that probably most of your listeners won't know, but large businesses over here in the top 20, say, businesses in the country have taken the step saying, let's do better. Created departments around looking for more sustainable pathways, not only in packaging and everything that they do. So, the gap is there, but people have taken that positive step.
Okay, so just another connected question to the products. When you work with a customer, what I've seen is that the customer typically wants not multiple suppliers, so they want you to carry the whole range of solutions. And is that something that is really important for the customer? Like when you go to them, you can be a specialized pulp supplier. Or do you normally hear from the customer, guys, we don't want to deal with 10 different suppliers. You guys need to supply me the other stuff. And of course, that's good for both the customer and the supplier, or you, to have the entire range. How many customers would be more akin to having the entire range of solutions?
It's not what they want, it's what we can do. Because otherwise, if we give them everything we want and we pour it, we're just going to fail. So I think what's important is we have amazing partners around the globe, which are food service distributors and packaging distributors. So when we have a large multinational coming to us and say we want a product, they're coming to us for the products where we have expertise. And that's all they want. They actually don't want us to supply everything. They want everything to come out of one supplier. So let me explain that. If you're a typical QSR or cafe, you don't want 9 drivers pitching up every single day. It's hard enough. You're probably one person behind the counter. Even in a Macca's or a KFC or a large organization, you're 2 or 3, you're busy. You're serving, 500 meals over a 1-hour period. It's crazy. There's queues. You want one person to pitch up at 9 o'clock when you're quiet, deliver everything, your meat, your chicken, your packaging. That's what's important. When you're running a small business in a cafe or in the food service industry or the food and leisure industry, you want to make sure that you really have a simplified time when it comes to supply. So that's important. So where we can supply everything, maybe you're a coffee shop and we've got everything. Yeah, that's possible. We can do everything, but we won't do wipes and we won't do, toilet paper, let's say, and we won't do gloves, plastic gloves. We won't do all of those issues. So no, I don't know that we're the business you go to supply everything. And some people are happy with that and can take two loads of deliveries a day from two different suppliers. Most bigger ones will do it themselves, like the multinational brands. They have their own distribution. But some will work with food service distributors, and we could possibly deliver probably cheaper to them or better, more efficiently to them, but it doesn't suit them because they don't want 9 boxes at 9 o'clock and 10 boxes at 10:30 and 11 boxes at 12 o'clock. They don't want a typical driver to come in, because he's late, because he's had a bad day, when they've got 400 customers queuing outside the door. So no, for a small business, the local distributor is the best partner for that business. For a big business, they probably do their own distribution or they work through amazing food service distributors, which every country has, so that you've got one delivery coming in and controlled, and maybe it's linked up with your point of sale system. Maybe it's linked up through some sort of technology with everything on one screen. So it depends. They're different customers. We've got massive mine site customers, for example, and they just buy packaging. So that's easy. They can pick it up off our range. We've got catering companies, which will come to us for a whole lot of supply. But I think that it's our distributor partners' functionality and responsibility to deliver everything from the hairnets to the gloves to the food to the packaging, and that's really important if you really want a professional long-term supply that's going to give you, as a business, as our customers' business, scale to grow, because otherwise you'll employ departments to manage 7 different suppliers, to manage when they pitch up at your locations. It's okay for 5, for 10, for 15, possibly even for 20 restaurants, but greater than that, you've got to have consistency. Might cost a little bit more in the dollar per item. It'll save you massively in efficiency.
So I know that you guys, and Richard, you and I had a conversation a couple of years back on forming conglomerates and getting people together. And one of the things that you guys have been very focused on is the overall carbon reduction and in a way, finding ways to collaborate and be able to do that. One of the things that I find is challenging, because many times we can provide compostable products and the customer will go, but where is the composter? So I don't know how it works in Australia, but in the United States, that's a constant question. So one of the things that we have been toying with is the idea that you provide a range of solutions in the food service space, and you also provide a composter or an end of use or composting service. Do you guys look at that? Do you guys look at the overall carbon chain and see how you can kind of evolve that?
Very much so. So we just actually recently launched this Pickler software that actually gives the environmental eco score of every single one of our products based on LCA data. So that's a really interesting and a great tool to really get some insights into the impact of your materials.
Yeah, I think when we do a presentation to a customer, we really take heart in what they do. We'll take the product, the quantity, we'll go get it, we'll measure it, we'll take it back to our independent assessor and say, hey guys, your product, you've got 2 tons of plastic that you're using, you'll eradicate. You'll actually reduce your plastic addiction by 2 tons if you move to our product. We then will look at what the carbon savings is, I guess. We're now using Pickler. We used to do a carbon savings. We used to offset carbon. We've moved away from that model because there were various things that made us move away from the model. The first thing for me is paying a carbon offset was like a swear jar. I'm going to do it, but I'll just pay for it. It's like a kid. 3 swear words, a bucket, maybe it's even worth it. And then it became, we used to know what we were investing in with the carbon offset dollars we were spending. Then it just became a bidding war. What we could buy for $2 a kilo, or some was $20 a kilo, because airlines and banks were saying, I will pay because it makes us look good. It's not making anyone look good. And I just doubt the impact that it's having. So we went around to, let's rather invest in us reducing our carbon footprint, in us reporting to our customer base. Here's our carbon that we still emit carbon. Better using compostable raw materials or plant-based raw materials than plastics, no doubt, but still there's an element, and we have to see what it is and how we can reduce it. And in line with that, Richard and Leah introduced Pickler into our system. When we look at each carton, and we now say to our customer, in each carton, we've translated that into a cost. If you say, hey, we'll save you 4 kilos of carbon, no one knows what you're talking about. If we're saying, we think by buying that product, it actually will cost you $1.20 to mitigate the environmental cost of that. We're not asking you to pay it. We just want to translate it in something that makes sense to you. You're buying a $80 carton, And we probably would need to spend $1.20 to mitigate the damage. What is the damage? The damage is the carbon emitted. So yes, to reduce or make that a carbon zero, it'll cost us X amount of dollars. There's a human health aspect to it because, we're breathing stuff in. We've got to make sure that we don't that we take that cost into account. There's a scarcity, a cost to that, whereby we have to replace the raw material. It's cost to replace the raw material. And finally, there's a nature impact, biodiversity. You could be taking trees, which is good. That might be FSC, but it creates erosion down into rivers that appear down below the forest that you're taking them from. So Pickler will give you a much better explanation, okay, than I just did. But those are the pillars in that. Yes, we need to understand our emissions. We need to show people transparently in a currency that they can understand the cost of mitigating the damage that we're doing. And while it's less than all our competition, it's still there. We need to be honest about that. And then we need to find ways of reducing it. And I think that's our philosophy and how we move forward, as opposed to carbon offsets previously, and not just carbon reduction. There's more than just carbon reduction we have to look at.
And so when it comes down to end of life, Ed, you talked about the initiative that we have, Compost Connect. We take, again, that quite seriously. As a company, we take producer responsibility seriously. We cannot be putting products out in the market that we knowingly will end up in landfill. And so from the very beginning, it was, how do we get this stuff composted? There was no infrastructure, lack of awareness, et cetera, et cetera. So a couple of years ago, Gary was driving past one of these compost trucks and came into the office, said, give them a call. Let's see if we can partner with them, that they'll collect the compost from our partner cafes. And that was the beginning of basically Compost Connect, which subsequently we got government grant funding for. And this was really just to connect the consumer with the waste processor or recycler. We've had varied success with it. I mean, I think there's been similar initiatives in the UK and the US by competitors in the marketplace. So it's definitely a good initiative. There's additional issues that complicate it a bit more, and that's sort of EPA regulations and local regulations, not only in Australia and New Zealand, but I believe globally, that not all composters want compostable packaging. There's a lot of greenwashing, as we talked about earlier. There's a lot of product out there that may be not certified compostable, that may be contaminants. So all of this adds to concerns from the compost industry, not really keen to take the composting. With that said, there certainly are composters that we work with that have no issues taking our packaging and composting it into good quality soil. So it's important. It requires engaging with multiple stakeholders, not only brand owners, local government, federal government, environmental organizations, in order to coordinate this. And this is something that we continue to do. It's ongoing. You said, yeah, there's no compost infrastructure, but the same could be said true for recycling. There is no recycling infrastructure, yet we make all these claims that these products are recyclable. We know that a lot of it's not getting recycled. And so we know that there's investment required in composting. We know that there's significant efforts globally to divert a lot of that organic waste from landfill. And it's all about determining what is the best end of life for our products. For soil contaminated packaging, or food contaminated packaging, I should say, there is no end of life other than composting. If there's no composting, it's going to end up in landfill, maybe be incinerated, but that's not an ideal outcome. So we will continue to push for composting of food soiled packaging going forward. It's not an easy one to solve, Ved. It's something that, as I said, we're working ongoing with EPAs, not only locally, but globally, trying to get our products into the composters, working with composters, doing case studies showing how effective it actually is. We are the ones who have to prove to government and those skeptics that this actually is viable, is environmentally better, and is sustainable going forward. So it's a lot on our shoulders, but we're really keen to sort of, I guess, push through and get that point across.
Now, I'll just do what I told you I don't do. I'll concentrate on the 99% good and I won't list the 1% bad. If you look at where we've had a success in the areas where we've got compost infrastructure throughout a whole state, and that's South Australia, in Australia, and in Western Australia, they've brought in laws that are mandating compostable packaging. I do believe there's a bit of a hierarchical growth phase for governments and legislators. Let's first get a common product. So how can a composter see a cup and know one's got a plastic and one's got a compostable lining? So I believe that's the first step. So I'm not going to call out the ones that are doing nothing. I'll just pat on the back the ones, which is not my style, that are doing great things. Those two states are doing amazing things. They're making an even playing field so that they can help composters, so that they can go that wait until infrastructure is built so they can divert all their food-based packaging to compost. We've got a whole state that'll accept it, at their bins at home, whether you take it home from a restaurant, at stadiums, in public places. We've got a shopping mall where it works. It shows a massive reduction in diversion to landfill by having just 3 bins: a compost bin, a recycling bin, and a general waste bin. So the success is there, and I'm really proud that I feel like we've influenced the legislation direction in Australia because we've shown at scale people will buy the product. Obviously, governments are worried, we're going to impact small business. Well, as I said, 50% of cafes and restaurant consumers have already taken that step. So how can it be wrong? And that we showed that by implementing at scale, staying disciplined to only doing compostable packaging, not being, maybe lured or going for any plastic part of our product. So we've shown we can produce it at scale. We've shown it can be implemented at scale. We've taken government legislators and decision makers into our factories. They walk and they go, whoa. They see all these boxes, all the scale. It's there, it's possible. And then the composters that are taking it from wherever, composting it, no issue. Now, we do know we put in that compost onto strawberries that we grow. We've got to make sure that there are no contaminants in there like PFAS and anything else. People are putting, people that have their bins going to compost, they'll put a nappy and a battery, and there are definite roadblocks. But here's the roadblock to recycling. It's impossible and it will never happen. Here's the roadblock to composting. Educate, build infrastructure, legislate only compostable products, and it will happen. There's no steps for recycling to work with food-contaminated packaging. Zero. It'll never happen. But there is a definite roadmap to composting. So, yeah, we've had great success. We've worked with legislators. We've gone to Canberra with an initiative the federal government had here called it's a mouthful, the Product Stewardship Centre for Excellence, where they invite industry experts to help, advise. And we've done all of that, and we've shown them at scale what can work, and we've shown them it working. It's not like a white paper. Here's what we believe working. Here it is. It's at scale. Shopping centres, caterers, whole cities. So it's very possible. And through Compost Connect, which is our non-profit organisation, it's an education platform where we help consumers. We try to guide consumers. We try to push governments. We don't accept the status quo. There's certain states that say nothing in compost except trees and leaves and branches, and some have FOGO, which is they allow food in there, which is great because that's the biggest issue with landfill is food, not packaging. Food as an emitter is, landfill would be the third largest country if you measure emissions. So food is the big thing. But if you're looking to take food out of landfill, a lot of it comes in a package. If the package is compostable, then you don't have to source, separate, clean. Just put the whole thing in the compost bin and have it composted. So we are quite aggressive with legislators when they look to not push the agenda with composting because it's the only solution. There is no other solution. So we'll stay vigilant and we'll stay aggressive in trying to change people's minds and make them see the light in our opinion.
Superb. The industry definitely needs more of you. I remember, Richard, us speaking again a couple of years back about the Australian Bioplastic Association and how you were trying to get people together. And of course, now Compost Connect. How has that gone? Have you been able to bring the industry more together and align so that there is a stronger force to work with the government, or has that been a challenge?
I think it's improved in the sense that there is at least a regulation or legislation coming into place to eliminate a lot of unnecessary and problematic plastics. But I guess, working with a lot of these organizations is a lot like herding cats. Not everyone's always on the same page. There's a lot of internal politics often. But needless to say, we continue to engage wherever possible with these groups. I think it's imperative that we continue to participate in the conversations going forward, because if we're not there promoting these and sharing our knowledge and understanding, then we don't have a chance. So whilst it's not always easy and not always fruitful, I believe that it's really important to continually engage. So I never miss an opportunity to engage with any of the industry working groups within our space to share our knowledge and learnings going forward.
Yeah, in terms of, and this word has come up a few times, the PFAS challenge that we all face in the industry. There is both sides of the argument where, there is an argument saying that, there is traces of PFAS in the oil proofing chemicals and it doesn't really seep through and hence it should not be a huge challenge. And of course, the other side of the argument is it is ultimately a forever chemical and it might, and that might is not good enough. So how have you guys dealt with it from a product point of view? Because as far as I know, the technologies that exist today, you end up paying more for a poorer performing product. How's that gone, and how have you dabbled with the PFAS issue?
Yeah, yes and no. I don't think it's that impactful, to be honest. I think what we paid is having 10 resources in this business and every manufacturer running around for a year looking for solutions that, I don't know, probably added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars in hours. It was a difficult path to take because we have a generic product that you could put a salad in with heavy salad dressing. That's at 0 degrees, let's say. You could put, a hot curry in, which is at 65 degrees. And every solution out there was between 20 and 50 degrees. So it was pointless because you're going to have a poor performing product. So we really spent massive amounts of time. We worked with 4 or 5 chemical manufacturers and we had to test it. We wouldn't want to replace the product with a regrettable alternate and then all of a sudden find out there was something wrong in that. So it wasn't like we wanted a solution within days. It took us years because we wanted to make sure we took the right steps. Now, it's not an excuse because we should have really possibly even stopped production. It just means that other people would have bought other sugarcane products from our competitors who today still do not have a PFAS-free or a range with no intentionally added PFAS. They're still selling it happily, claiming compostability, which shouldn't be the case. But listen, we're not the world's policemen. They can do what they want. We'll continue to operate with them with good honesty with our customer base. So we had to find the products that were specific. We might have had a Mexican chain that just do rice as a base, and yeah, this additive worked. We had to find products that like sauce containers. Who knows? Is it an oyster sauce? Is it a salsa? Is it a tomato sauce? Is it a chili sauce? Every one of them have different permeable features. Some, and then we had to find the most, the strongest additive to make sure it protects against all. And that was, as you said, it was large, the investment, but we just did it. So there was somewhere our costs went up 10%. And there was some where our costs went up 3%. There was some where we thought, hey, we don't need an additive in there at all. We've got a range of bakery items. It doesn't need it. So we just had the standard amount. So if you look at it, maybe it increased the cost to us at 3-4% overall. That's minute. That really shouldn't come into the scale of things. We didn't change our pricing for our customers because our competitors are still selling PFAS-ridden products and will discount it. So yeah, it was a knock on the chin for us, but that's our business. We're not opposed to that. We want to be industry leaders and we want to lead the industry. We want them to feel guilty and want them to feel threatened and lose business because they haven't made the move. And we want them to make the move. We need competition. We need, people using compostable products and not going back to plastic. So yes, it was difficult. It added cost. It wasn't a massive cost to us in the final end product, and the investment possibly was. But we do that every day. It's part of what we do to try and find better solutions. Maybe not to eradicate forever chemicals, maybe to have a better substrate. Everyone thought PLA as a lining was fantastic. Now there's aqueous and PHA, and we're constantly developing different linings which have got a better environmental footprint. So it's what we do. But no, I don't think it was a cost. I think it was imperative. I think everybody should have done it. And I think government should come out and ban PFAS, and then everyone has to do it. But we've spoken to legislators in 2 countries, and they talk a good game. Yeah, we want to get to it. And yeah, I think it's difficult because PFAS is not a sustainable packaging problem. It's in the water we drink. It's in pans and dental floss. It's in so many items. They got their challenges, but, they should really aggressively move towards eradicating and banning it.
And it's just another example of an opportunity to turn lemons into lemonade. Yes, we were shocked when we heard about this PFAS in our products, but we took action immediately. We released a media statement. We engaged with local authorities. We undertook testing of our products. We led the team that was involved in the voluntarily phase out. We actually set the benchmark as the first company to phase it out within our industry. And so there's always this opportunity. There's going to be problems no matter what you're in. There's going to be these things coming to the fore. It's how we manage them and utilize them in a positive way rather than saying, oh, it's screwed over our business. It's made us more aware of being more vigilant about understanding what is in our products. Do we know everything? And now you're just going to make us more and more, I guess, aware of any potential risks and preempt them rather than have the same situation again where suddenly in a couple of years we realize there's another chemical that we were unaware of. So it's a good opportunity. It obviously allows us to show our leadership in the space. Yeah, we push our suppliers constantly looking for new solutions and new innovations in the space, and guaranteed there will be, and we will be the first to have that when it does come out.
I think from a corporate perspective, it's important that corporates behave and large businesses behave. We had a product with PFAS, which we were devastated about, which contributed 25% of our revenue. Yet the day after we found out, we put out white papers on what we believe the issue is. We contacted all our customers. We could have lost 25% of our business. But our value proposition to our customers, we'll just always be open and honest. And yeah, I mean, I guess some people would have thought in boardrooms and in C-suite executive offices, well, let's try to find a solution and then go out to the market. No, that's part of the tapestry Richard mentioned, which is so many threads that build, our company and our reputation and our business. And that one of them is just be honest, just be honest. And sometimes honesty can cost you, sometimes it can't. But generally, at the end of the day, all bullshit comes out. So it's not worth hiding facts.
Yeah, my grandfather was a man who had many great sayings. One of his sayings was, honesty is not the best policy, it is the only policy. So there is no discussion around that idea that it's a good policy or not. So presumably there is no law then against PFAS in Australia, is there?
They're busy formulating the regulation. There is a voluntary phase. Yeah.
That's amazing, right? You guys have already eliminated it while they still, regulation-wise, there is no regulation saying that you have to not have PFAS. That's amazing. That's truly creditable.
And educating consumers and brand owners on what PFAS is, where it's found, not only in packaging, but sharing that knowledge that we have with our customers.
That's amazing.
It's a funny thing is, as you say, we sit in such a privileged position when this information comes to our desk. So when we went to brand owners, and we're talking all the large multinational brand owners, that was the first they heard about it. So we went to, I won't mention business names, massive multinational and large Australian, New Zealand and UK business said, we've got to face this problem. They had PFAS in loads of other items. And when we faced it, like we would say to them, hey, you might want to look at this and that and the other products and that. And all of a sudden, we had their whole team's hierarchy. So, as you say, lemons into lemonades. By us highlighting the issue, they dealt with it within their organizations. And that information just landed on our laps. And it's important we share that information, good or bad.
Yeah, and you guys also mentioned PLA earlier in straws and in lining. What I see is that a lot of the beverage solutions today, many companies, I don't know how you guys are tackling it, but that's a huge solution, especially when it comes to compostables, that you have a PLA cup. So how do you guys look at the beverage solutions, and are you able to find alternative substrates to be able to avoid PLA, or you stay with PLA and keep finding alternates?
With PLA, it's ultimately down to regulations. So you've got globally, Australia as well as the UK and some European countries, PLA is being included in those single-use plastic bans. From my perspective, rightly so, especially if it's only industrially compostable. Based on that, I think PLA is a fantastic material. Maybe the best use of PLA isn't in the food service sector. Maybe it's for the textile industry, for fashion industry. It might be more sustainable than the polyesters they're currently sourcing from fossil resources. But when it comes to food service, I think that we constantly need to be evolving and looking for those new materials that are marine and soil degradable, because the reality is if our products do escape collection, they do end up in the environment. So we don't want our products persisting for any length of time. So anything that can be soil or marine degradable is definitely a benefit to the environment and to obviously us and our client base. So as I mentioned before, the paperization of packaging there's a lot happening in the space, a lot happening in the technology sphere, in being able to treat paper so that it has the same functional performance as plastics. And there's a variety of solutions that are non-plastic. There are ceramic coatings, algae, seaweeds, PHAs. As I said, it's an exciting time because there's so much, and this is being driven by regulation. So regulation is a good thing in the space. Now, I kind of welcome the banning of PLA because it allows us to then look for more sustainable alternatives going forward.
So have you been able to find some, especially for the cold beverage side, or that's still work in progress?
Well, yeah. So what happened is they banned the PLA cold cups, and so what you have left is paper cups with alternative linings. So paper cups with aqueous coatings, paper cups with non-plastic linings. Those are the options that we have available in the market today.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Like just to be able to find alternates. And Richard, before we started recording, it was really a joy for me to hear that you're also looking at reusables and not just sticking to, okay, we want to just sell more products. So, we're just going to get more products out. But let's look at, again, at probably what felt to me like was it comes from that core of honesty. Okay, if there is a reusable usage, we are also going to provide that to the customer. So how did that thinking evolve, and how are you planning to grow in that space?
It's not necessarily a new thing. So we did attempt making a reusable range of cups out of PLA a couple of years ago. It was a bit of a nightmare. We had major functional issues and had a recall on those products because of functional issues. And it was clear at that time, and I guess even more so now, that reusables has a place to play in the food service sector, that a significant amount of single-use packaging can be eliminated by adopting reusables. And so it's a bit of a no-brainer that we had to get into this space since we're servicing this market. Initially tried to develop it on our own, and it turned out to be, I guess, just like anything else, you think it's something that's simple and straightforward when you don't know too much about it, but the more you dig into it, the more you realize that it's a lot more complex than just a reusable cup. And so we acquired Husky, which is a Australian company, which is incredible. Been developing this product for years now and have won numerous awards. Not only is it the product, but it's the systems behind the product that can enable a truly circular economy. So it's not just, oh, well, let's have a reusable cup and let's make it out of the most sustainable material that we can. It's more about now, how can we enable a really simple, convenient solution for the customer that they actually adopt a reusable as a viable alternative, because there's been reusables for years. They've never taken off because it's something that the consumer has to think about, something that they have to remember. It's just less convenient in a single-use disposable. It's about the ecosystem that comes with that reusable. It's about the logistics, the reverse logistics, the washing, the sanitization, and redistribution of the product that is critical in developing a system that actually works. And so with our acquisition with Husky, it's the cups, which are amazing designs, amazing materials, but it's that infrastructure behind it that can actually enable the whole thing to work. So that is key, and we're super excited about where this can evolve to. It's certainly not going to eliminate single-use packaging, and we're well aware of the fact that there will always be the requirement for a burger wrap or a sandwich pack, a single-use disposable. But I guess where someone has a coffee and they're drinking it at the cafe or at their office, yes, why not have reusables? If you can make it convenient and cost-effective, it's a bit of a no-brainer, and that's where we find ourselves today.
Yeah, just to add to that, Ved, there are many reusable businesses around the world. Some just produce product and sell it. That's not reusable. That's just sending you something else to put in your kitchen. And you can take one of your mugs. Okay, maybe it might spill if you're driving in a car. You can take anything to a cafe, and people are going to forget. People are creatures of habit. They're going to do exactly as they do and very seldom deviate from that. And while disposables are available, and they will be for some time, reusable systems, like we've seen them fail constantly. So our vision there is we have trucks going to thousands of cafes across many countries. So if we can make it convenient to give a cafe a 1,000 cups to keep that they can store. Right now, you want to buy 1,000 reusable cups, you'll need about 3 cafes to store them. And they're massive. They don't nest properly. We're designing products that can neatly sit in the back of the cafe like a box of disposable cups. We've got to have a system whereby they can issue it to the customer somehow takes ownership and returns it. But we've got to have places to return it to. So we're going to do deals with shopping centers and supermarkets and other cafes and garages or service centers or gas stations. And that's what we're doing. Just like before 2010, no one knew what a compostable product was. Before 2015, maybe. No one thought it could be, dominate the market. No one thought, hey, let's get composters to compost packaging. We started that mission 15, 17, 18 years ago, knowing that our end goal was it will be a reality. We are starting the mission on reusables. Many people might have been in it, but when people say there's a really good German company that says and they're really well known on all of the internet. They've got amazing technology to use reusable cups. They have about 2,000 cups in service at any one time. That's not amazing. That's not amazing. People will do a stadium. That's not amazing. Yeah, exactly. And ask Richard, one of the policies I have in this business is don't bring me cute. I don't like cute. I like scale. Every time they come in, what a great idea. I look at them and go, that's cute. They know to walk out of my office. We believe that we can turn whole cities into using reusables, that we will deliver on time, that we deliver a product that they can use, we'll deliver a very easy technical application where it can be scanned to the customer, where the customer will have 14 days and return it because it'll be so easy to return it. They might have 3 in their car, go fill up their car, go to a shopping center, go back to the cafe, easy to do it. We might be punitive if they don't return it and charge them $5 a cup. We might gamify it and say if you return it, we'll give you some frequent flyer miles. We are building dishwashing stations right now, whereby we can go to city centers and say, right, let's take this quarter and only use reusables and educate customers. So we believe we can make a difference. We've got the scale to make the difference. We've got the infrastructure to make the difference. And we are building what we don't have, which, as you say, is sanitization centers where we can collect it, take it, wash it hygienically. The trick behind reusables is not the washing, it's the drying. When you unpack your dishwasher and you put stuff in your drawers, how many times do you take it out and there's a little bit of moisture and you can't get the cups out? If we do that, we're transporting disease. So we've got the technology to efficiently dry. So I believe that we can change entire cities one at a time to using reusables. So we have a responsibility as a sustainable business, not a sustainable packaging business. As if our true ethos is to do better and to continually improve and to continually push the boundaries of sustainability, we have to offer a sustainable product and we have to offer a reusable product. Now, many companies do that. It's about the system. We have to really put effort into making it work, to make it convenient. And I think we are equipped to do it. And I think it's our responsibility to do it. And we certainly are investing to do it.
I'm going to use that term, Gary, from you, and that term means cute, because because the many times, so we are of course on this journey of trying to create manufacturing at scale. So how do you, like, we're building right now a plant which will produce over 130,000 tons of material every year. So it's sometimes in our R&D, people come up with these ideas that, oh, this raw material is great and we should try and look at this. And we know that there is no way to get it, in the sense gather it. There is it's just so widespread, and that's a cute idea, right? So we always say that get it to us only if it's 100,000 tons or more of raw material in a certain space. If it's not, don't even talk about it, don't even look at it. But I'm going to use the term cute now. That's a cute idea. Let it rest there. So
I used to have a sign on my desk. It was like you see those cones in the street, those big orange cones.
Yeah.
So I go on my desk and on it said it's okay to say no.
Absolutely.
So when people come in the office and yeah, I do like to. I hate two things. Like when people say, well, when people give you the attitude is like, I wouldn't do that. I know better. I sort of think of my father. I hated it when he did that to me. I do think you need to be slightly naive sometimes and just go for it. Don't think about the bigger picture. Just go for it. But there are areas when you just know it's not going to work. I don't want to sound like my father, but you've got to say no when you just know you're going down a path that you shouldn't even entertain.
Yeah, and in fact, I always use the term that your list of no's should be, well, those of the listeners who are listening, much longer than the list of yeses. The yeses list needs to be really short and focused, and no needs to be a long, long list, because you have to know what to say no to, because otherwise there is endless requests, endless possibilities, and you're just drowning in trying to supply.
And I might miss opportunities, but when people pose new products, new concepts, new business ideas, new whatever, when I start thinking about it and it tires me, how do you do that in that scenario? And will it work there? And as soon as I get tired, that's when I know I'm not doing it. So I often have a saying with people, that's really making me tired. It's a no. It's just too confusing. It's really, it's not working in my mind instantly. No, it's a no. So yeah, I think you got to back yourself. But I don't want to squash. A lot of innovation and progress in this world is by young people which don't have the experience, and that's a good thing sometimes. It's good to be slightly naive of the complication of things you want to implement. I love it. I think most initiatives are brought by 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, and you don't want to stamp on their enthusiasm.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, but there's also that limitation that you have to be aware of from your perspective. I remember a story as you were talking that there was a guy who said, there's somebody who wants to meet to buy material off you. I said, okay, what do they want to buy? Oh, no, it's classified. They'll come in and talk to you, and they're flying all the way from, Hong Kong or somewhere. And I said, the guy is coming all the way. You don't even want to tell me what it is. And the conversation got over in 5 minutes because they wanted electronic packaging. And I was like, we don't do that. So but it's the same machines, just produce it. and we're going to buy the whole lot. We said, we haven't even figured out food services. Forget electronic packaging. Let us first try and figure that out. It's not the same beast, even if the machines are similar. And it's just so amazing, because if you say yes, then there is no end, right? You can get into electronics packaging, which is a totally different beast. So, yeah, so I get you. You both have mentioned, as we've spoken, about technology and mostly around the IT side and how you've improved that over time. And I feel that that's such an important aspect of any business, in particular, a business that is trying to supply on time, is dealing with multiple suppliers. So how has that journey been for you guys, and how are you seeing it evolving in the age of AI and all of that coming in?
I think if you have an end game with technology, you should not be in business, because there is no end game. You can never stop process improving. So it's an addiction. Yeah, we constantly, every day, are thinking of different modifications to our technology to make sure we've got a report that comes out 4 o'clock every day. And that report tells me every order that we took today that has not been dispatched. That sounds pretty simple. Okay, but then it comes to, why wasn't it dispatched? There's different technologies that we implement around service, around manufacture, client integration into our business. So I believe they should see what we see. Why hide it? Why can't they go on and see we operated at 80% this week? They should phone me and shout at me. If I missed it, they shouldn't miss it. So I think technology, if you've got people doing that, you're probably going to administration pretty quickly and run out of funds. Technology is essential to build efficiency in business, to build honest communication with your suppliers, with your partners, whether it be supply chain or manufacturer partners, and your customers. And you should be sitting and process improving every single day in the business. As you say now, with the advent of AI, we have to build that into what we do. We've built it into our marketing. We're going to build it into, the standard functions of our business with regards, it'll just make us more efficient. We're replying to customers on an email, simple things. But more importantly, we're bringing AI into predictive technology for stock replenishment. Now, we're way off, don't get me wrong. There are people that say, oh, we've got a solution, but we are way off. We have to investigate it, implement it, run a dual with our current processes. So you definitely have to listen and keep an eye out for the bleeding edge technology and literally put it into your business in testing almost immediately, because most of it will improve you and will work. As I said, it's like you said, how do you find new manufacturers? We do tiptoe, but you have to tiptoe instantly to keep yourself in the game with any new technology. I think as a business, we are light years ahead of our competition with regards to technology, both marketing technology, supply chain technology, internal technology in our business, which helps us with all our processes. And I think that's a big differentiator with us. And it created us the ability to scale maybe a little bit quicker than our competition. From most people, a packaging company is, hey, you got a 39 box, I can get it for 38. For us, it's about the technology behind the business, the marketing behind the business, the tapestry Richard mentioned, the ethos behind the product selections, the investment into end-of-life options that we try to promote and educate and build. But the technology is a very big core of our business that we build on a daily basis. As I said, we've got 9-10 developers in our business. We don't outsource it. So we've got 9-10 developers in our business. When you find, hey, I want to integrate with all my transport providers so my customer has a direct link instantly as we put it on a truck. If you get an external party to come and implement that, they've got to learn about your business. They've got to understand your processes. They've got to just investigate the hierarchy of your ERP, of your warehouse management systems, of your transport management systems. That just takes time, costs money, and creates procrastination and delays. We do it internally. It's really important to us. So, yes, buzzwords like AI, they've been around forever. It's been coined now as a phrase, artificial intelligence, but intelligence, business intelligence, which more than artificial intelligence, BI has been very part of our business. Even things like, if I want to look at now, what is our revenue today? What is the margin on that revenue? We are the poor performing margin items, the high performing margin items, which suppliers are delivering on time, which are late, which shipping companies pick up our goods on time or have missed deadlines. Everything is fingertip at our business to make us more efficient. Yeah. Sometimes you have the information and you don't look at it. That's a separate issue, because you get, firefighting and waylaid in other aspects of your business. But I try and make it simple, but try and get everything at a fingertip. So then when you're dealing with anything in our business, you are dealing with it as it comes up. To expand on that, if I'm a salesperson and I've got everything in front of me, where is my order? I don't have to say, let me call customer service. That's a delay. That's, inefficient. If I'm a salesperson, and it's how much inventory do I have of my custom printed bowls? If it's a salesperson and it's, when do you think my sales rep will be around to visit my area? Everything has to be at your fingertips, driven by technology. So people are amazed you give an answer immediately. I used to have this philosophy in the business is when we get a quotation, when we get an inquiry, okay, your quote's out that day, your samples are sent that day, because by the time you have signed the deal with that customer, your competition phones back and said, "Hi, 4 days ago, we've got an inquiry. Can I find out a little bit more about it?" You've got to have the attitude is, "No, sorry, we've already done the deal with the efficient company." That's what drives technology across our business.
So technology has obviously always been there, and we've leveraged it to make us more efficient. We've sort of been early adopters. One of the first ERP cloud-based systems is something that we adopted early in 2011, and it's a significant game changer. It gave us the ability to compete, as I said before, with bigger players in the market. But I'm also excited about the other aspects of technology, evolution or innovation. Talk about AI, and Gary said you had a lot of buzzwords now, but I'm also reading a lot about AI in material innovations and how it can speed up the development of novel and innovative new materials going forward. So I'm excited to see where that can lead to, as well as innovations in production technology, machine innovations, molding pulp. One of the things with molded pulp is that it hasn't really evolved for many, many years. And some of the bigger companies now are looking at, as we paperized the packaging industry, looking at how we can make these pulp forming, either dry pulp molding or much more efficient wet pulp molding technologies. So as the IT side of things advance, so too does the technological side on the production side. And we need to stay, I guess, abreast of both those developments and make sure that we're at the cutting edge of both those areas of innovation.
Yeah, the other thing which you guys have inferred to a few times, and Richard, you and I were talking before we press record as well, is the series of acquisitions. And I'm sure that has its own journey in terms of deciding, okay, we're going to acquire in this domain. And then, of course, it's the whole challenge of integration. Like you guys have this crazy culture of, go, go, go. And, I'm sure you acquire companies that need to be inculcated with that kind of, or indoctrinated with that kind of hunger. So how has that been? How have you gone ahead and decided, okay, this is what we're going to acquire, and this is how we are going to integrate and bring them into our fold?
Look, we haven't done massive amount of acquisitions because it really has to be square peg, square hole, or we got to walk away. And there are very few businesses that have our. So it's important they have the same culture as us. So as it happens, all the businesses we bought are B Corps. So they have to have the same culture. Our product sets have to match. It's no good buying a packaging business with 40% compostable products and 60% plastics. We've seen a lot of those. And we thought, okay, let's take it. And through a year or two, try and migrate all those customers to compostable packaging. That's a lot of time and energy. And it'll just take the focus away from the business. So, no. We've made sure the acquisitions do have the same culture as us. All the acquisitions, the founders have come in as partners, as shareholders of our business. So we haven't given them money and say, go away. They are now internal and partners in our business. So we've got very strict, direct laws or rules around what we buy and how we buy and what type of businesses. They do fit, their culture fits, their ethos, sustainability ethos fits. And yeah, then it is about, I think absolutely, the integration is so difficult. We've got to get them on our ERP platform. We've got to get product codes that we both understand. We've got to get them to use our engine that we have to assist their businesses. I don't force that part. That's a part, let's see how it goes. No rules. We would like within 6 months you to be on our technical platforms. Let's work towards it. It's no rules as in, hey, now this person's do your buying and this person's do. No, carry on. We bought your business because you've got great people. When we invest in businesses, we're investing in people, not product. The culture has to be there. Obviously, there has to be a product fit. Otherwise, I'm not interested. But the people fit is the most important. And look, it's difficult. I'd like to say we really have been good at it. But, small business of 10 people coming to a big business of 250 people, it's never easy. So it's always a learning curve. It's always, has its bumps and challenges. But we like to believe that we acquire them as quickly as we can without uncomfortability, integrate them into our business. We're on a technology platform, on our ERP platform, on all our systems, because that's important, make them more efficient, and it makes my management team have the ability to see how all businesses are running instantly. And I think it does deliver time back to the businesses that we buy to run their own businesses and not be waylaid with the admin and the financial side of the business and compliance. So it's a work in progress. We're not perfect at it. But yeah, it's important to firstly have a business that fits, have people that have the same culture, and have partners come into this business, not just acquisitions.
So the other one which I've been really impressed with. So when we met, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years back, it was very focused on Australia and New Zealand. And I've seen you guys now branch out. You talked about UK a little while back, and I know there's something happening on the US side as well. So how has the international expansion been, and how are you seeing retention of that deep culture that you've created of customer service pan out as you expand internationally? How do you go about doing that?
It's got varied. I guess we try and implement the same culture there. So, but it's difficult. For example, in Europe, we can't be there. Otherwise we've got to stay at work until 4 o'clock in the morning. I believe we've got a great team in the UK now. So UK has been challenging. We lost to market. They're people that do what we do. The innovative items they don't want because they've still got such a plastic addiction. So it's where Australia and New Zealand were like maybe 5, 6 years ago. But we're patient. We've got time for them to make that move. We've got time for their legislators to change their packaging profile. And yeah, we still have that reputation of being really efficient, of being, a great business to deal with, of having a good culture. But it's a challenge there. Got to be honest with you. Where we've gone in Asia, we're first to market, so it's not a challenge. People do rely on us, and people love our service and love, the education and the road we're taking them on. We're holding their hand and taking them down a journey that they haven't experienced before. So varied responses. But yes, we've done extremely well. We've just opened up in Hong Kong, which I'm very excited about. Singapore has gone extremely well. The UK is a big business today. And while challenging, we have great growth opportunities over there. And our next foray is into Europe, where we're going to go. We have a small license agreement with one of our partners selling product in Europe, but we're opening up ourselves in France sometime before the end of the year. So US is a great market. For us, Europe, we're there already, so we might as well. Let's go into Europe. Let's hopefully over the next 3 years have 4 or 5 countries with full distribution abilities and capabilities, and get our ethos and our culture and our education, get people part of the bio crew there, and that's our next great drive is into Europe. Now that might come through acquisition. We certainly are looking, but definitely if we can't find a good acquisition, a square peg for square hole acquisition, an acquisition where we can buy people, not necessarily companies, and bring on partners and culture, then we'll do it through organic mechanisms or means.
Okay. So of course you are acquiring and you are great distributors of product. Do you ever think about getting into manufacturing yourselves? That we're going to also integrate backwards and start acquiring manufacturing companies and become shorten that chain, or that's something you want to stay away from?
I'm starting to lose my breath now. It's becoming all complicated in my mind. So no.
That's perfect. No, that's not my business.
It's okay to say no. You never know. There might be an amazing opportunity that makes perfect sense for this business to make an acquisition. You know what? We don't, as I said, I'd like to say that on the acquisition part of this business, we have monthly meetings where we bring in all the shareholders and C-suite and major executives of the business, and we decide what should we acquire. That's not how it works. It's opportunistic. It's looking. It's having teams out there saying what deals are out there, what companies are out there. So never say no, but I think we've got to pick our battles and pick where our strengths are. We know where our strengths are. I think we've gone a long road successfully with using great best-of-breed manufacturer partners. And so right now it's not on the agenda. No, I think Richie would love it on the agenda, but I'm just, that'll make me more tired than I already am when I think about it.
I'm probably grateful that Gary has such reluctance, because I think I've forgotten what it's like running a production facility 24/7. It's been a long time. As Gary said, maybe something will come up. I'm constantly looking at opportunities and looking at what's happening in the markets. So there may be an opportunity in the future for some amazing manufacturing facility. But at the moment, we've got enough to keep us busy, but that doesn't stop us from looking at opportunities.
Just from the outside, with our manufacturer partners, we're daily involved with them. We know their production output. We know we buy machinery with them. We invest in them. We tell them to get more people. It's not like we're not involved in that side of the business. But we maybe got a 15% overhead on our brains to try and run those manufacturer facilities because we need decent integration with them. But that's very different from actually running those businesses. And also, I'd like to believe we've got endless capital available to us. Apparently we don't. So we've got to find our dollars, invest in our working capital, invest in our inventory, invest in organic geographical expansion, potential acquisitions. That's where our dollars are directed at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a different skill set in a way. I see the time, and I'd said 3 hours, but I think we might be able to wrap up sooner. So I'll take it towards that curvature of closure. So a couple of things, Richard, maybe directed to you. You've been speaking lesser. So
it's a story of his life, but anyway, carry on.
I wasn't going to say it.
Well, certainly the last 18 years.
we will switch that over the next 18. I don't think that's happening, but okay. So in terms of, I see that there's a huge social agenda. Of course, there's the Compost Connect, but also as a B Corp, you guys want to make sure that you are part of a community and contributing towards that. How do you channelize that money. I see that 5% of your, I think it's the turnover, goes into social agendas. So how do you look at that, and how do you look at that growing over time?
And that's just part of our mission, I guess, as a B corporation, to give back to people and the planet. So it's really important for us to have these initiatives within the organization. And some of the things that I've sort of mentioned before, some of the things that I'm sort of most proud of is the initiatives that we've contributed towards Rainforest Rescue, our partners here, where we give 1% of profits. And just to see the real impact that they're having on the ground, and the improvement in the environment and the restoration of this rainforest, to me, that's the best outcome I could possibly ever want. So it's really rewarding, and I think it's really social currency. I think it gives us, to act in a way that we do. I think that, it sort of showcases that we're not just about profit, that we have these other aspects of the company. I think that the consumers and even brand owners appreciate the fact that we have this varied structure within our company that is not just all about making money. At the end of the day, it's about giving back and making the world a better place.
Yeah, and I actually think no one really thinks about in this business. It's part of what everybody does. We know we've got these. We work a lot with food rescue businesses. We work with Rainforest Rescue. We work with a medical company, well, a company that does amazing work where they go and get old medical equipment in, I guess, the Australian and New Zealand market, which we might get a machine that does x-rays, which is 4 years old, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's old technology, but there's somewhere in the world where it's desperately needed. So we really have picked good partners. They do the amazing work. We believe we should help and invest in their non-profit organizations, and that's something that we take very seriously. But there's a lot of the work that we do is, initially, many moons ago, I came up with a great marketing idea, and just for the record, never has one of my ideas been implemented in Biopak. Richard used to be the gatekeeper and block him every time, but now he's got his little 2RC in our head of marketing, Adrian Tasker, who never listens to anything I say. Apparently, I'm politically incorrect, and none of my ideas are good, which is fair. Okay, they've got a track record that proves that's the case. But I wanted to create a charitable side of a business called MBA, Made by Australians, because we walked the streets of this country, and people created the business that we have. Consumers started purchasing from us and pushed distributors to buy from us. Without those people putting their faith in us and promoting us and understanding our mission and what we had to say, we wouldn't have had a business. So how do we give back? And that's where, I guess, some of the 5% ideas come from. And that's exactly what it is. And what we started is, okay, if there's a small charity, if there's a non-profit, just if they want product, give them product. So while we've got large dollar numbers that we say we support Rainforest Rescue, we've got large dollar numbers that we support Oz Harvest and UK Harvest in the food rescue people, where we've got large dollar figures where we give to MedEarth to recover medical equipment. That is not even 30% of our contribution, because daily we have people wanting product. And we could say, no, let's rather get pats on our backs. Let's rather get, recognition, and let's go give $200,000 to one organization and get in the papers. We have hundreds of people coming to us on a monthly basis, and that's more important to us, to make sure we support them. Obviously, they have to have a charitable organization. I'm not big into a school fete, as lovely as they are, I'll give them a discount. I'm big into, people that are doing real good work out there for homeless and other causes. And that's where the majority goes to. And, I look at the end of the month, it's like 3 pages of people that have taken. People are, very honest. We have scoring mechanisms where we make sure we're giving to people that actually should be receiving it and are doing good out there, and do create meals for the homeless, and do good work in various departments, in various areas. And obviously there's a dollar contribution to a lot of other causes as well, whether they be medical or humanitarian. So it's a very big part of our business that no one really thinks about, because we've been doing it for almost a decade.
It's all about being that force for good and contributing that towards the community. It's, as I say, it's been one of the foundational principles of this business to give back. And
you know what happened with Rainforest Rescue? When Rainforest Rescue approached us, I think 8 or 9 years ago, we developed a little logo called 1% of profits. And that's what our mission was. Let's give 1% of profits to them. And we sort of, I wouldn't say schooled them, but we helped them. We said, listen, you should take this elsewhere. Go tell people that you've got Biopak as a 1% of product. But I think I think Lala, who's one of our graphic geniuses over there, made the logo. I believe they've got like 70, 80 people now using that logo and contributing what. Now they've done all the work. Don't get it wrong. We might have said one or two encouraging words and given them a logo, but we want to have that impact where we tell people, put pressure on people. You should be doing this. You should be doing 1% of profits. You should be having some social contributions in your businesses, and not only profit for purpose has to be the driver in your business. So yeah. I think we're quite proud of that, telling people what we do to try and get them to do similar.
And we try and do things wherever we have a presence locally. I think it's really important to give back in the areas that we actually do operate. And so for us, from an Australian perspective, for me, having found Rainforest Rescue and being able to go and visit the site and actually see the evolution as they restore it is being extremely rewarding. And I think that we have similar projects in each country that we work in. We want to work with the local environment and give back and restore it, because that's what the business is ultimately about. And as a regenerative business, regenerating the environment is key.
Yeah, and I also see your alignment mostly with in ecologically oriented work that is being done, so that it it aligns well with what you guys are doing and supporting the charities that are in that domain. Are you guys present in South Africa yet, or you haven't gone to your motherland so far?
And we tried many moons ago. A wonderful individual that worked on an oil rig forever and just quit and said, I've got to repent for my sins. Let me go and try and do some good. The issue is setting up in every market. We have to be realistic and commercial about it. It's equal effort. So if I set up in the US or South Africa, it's the same amount of effort, time, resource. And I've got to pick markets where we believe we can be commercially successful. As much as we'd love to go there, I don't think we can be as commercially successful as France, as the US. And the US is 50 countries, So while we'd love to go back, the countries have to be receptive and have to have an appetite for our product. And I don't believe they're at the stage where it would attract our investment, because the outcome would not be commercially viable.
Yeah, that was of course a digression, but let me take it towards closure. Two questions connected. One question is, what are the most exciting products for you in the coming couple of years? What are you most excited about? And the second kind of question is, how do you look at scale? If you are X size now, how do you see it in 5 years? What would your aspiration be, and what would you like Biopak to be in the next 5 years? So product and scale, as in revenue.
I can answer the product, let Gary do the scale. For me, the most exciting product is definitely the reuse. I think it has a lot of potential, and I would love to see us again really lead the market and innovate in this space, because it's been so long. As Gary mentioned, there's so many companies out there trying to do the right thing. Yeah, it'd be great for us, a feather in our cap, if we could get this model working. So that for me is the most exciting. As far as expansion goes, Gary wants to rule the world, I believe.
Not only the world, there's other planets in our galaxy.
You can join Elon Musk for Mars as well.
I think, as I said, Richard said, we've got to innovate new, better products. I mean, everyone thinks this is the end game. We've got great products. You can't think like that. You've got to have that naivety I talked about in the youth of today. We can do better, thinner substrates, serve the same meal using less raw materials, not impact, raw materials and resources for future generations. We've got to try our best to continually improve. And I think reusable. I honestly think we can convert the whole disposable packaging market to reusable if we have the washing stations, if we have the infrastructure. I think if it takes 5 to 10 years, I don't care. I think we've got to invest the time and the effort in going there. So from a product perspective, carry on doing what we're doing, make products with better raw materials, innovate to products that don't have sustainable packaging available right now, and invest in reusable and infrastructure and education. From a scale perspective, again, I want to go back to my youth when I was 21 and believe that I could triple in the next 2 minutes. Scale, I'm realistic about scale because we're at a size where we really need to make sure, and we've had many times where the wheels are wobbling on our engine and we have to just slow down. So it's about, for me, the next 6 months is about a real investment into infrastructure and people. And then, I do believe we could triple over the next 2-3 years. I honestly do. I think we're going to get into the geographical markets. We've got to make sure that we've got the engine that can support it. I think we've got tailwinds of people's education. They're more educated in sustainable packaging. We've got tailwinds of legislation. We haven't felt legislation really in Europe and the UK. And so that will come. I think the biggest obstacle in the way of our growth and our scale is us. So we just have to do better to allow that to happen.
That's beautifully said. I couldn't have expressed it more. And this is something that goes through my mind as well. It's our capacity and our ability to be able to do it. But you guys are right in terms of legislation, because it also enables a lot of innovation. So it's not about the legislation itself, it's what it's going to enable. People are more motivated to create new things if there is a kind of ban coming in. People run around and find better products. So I hope both those things will happen. We'll expand our horizons and abilities, and also there's going to be support so that we can innovate more. And that takes me well to the last question, and I'm very excited to hear both your perspectives on what is good garbage to you.
For me, good garbage, only good garbage is this show, but there's no such thing as good garbage because it's a contradiction. I think at the end of the day, we have a tagline in our business, a world without waste. And I think that coming back to the very beginning of that book, Cradle to Cradle, a world without waste, is about the circularity of everything. I think that there is no waste. There's just resources and nutrients that need to be recirculated. So that's why I was to good garbage is no garbage, basically.
But 15 years ago, when my kids were little, now they're bigger than me and they don't listen to me, but they at a stage they did, and were encouraged by me spending lots of time with them. I used to go to primary schools. I went to 4 or 5 of them, and they used to be interested in what we did and say, "Come talk to us about what you do." And in those days, my marketing skills were equally as adept as they are now. And again, no one's ever taken a marketing piece of genius from me. All I used to do is I'd cut and paste a heap of garbage in a in a dump site, and I used to cut and paste some gold and stick it in the middle. That was my ability of photoshopping in those days. And my message to them was, when you look at waste, look at what it really is. It's gold. It's gold. There's so much value in there. And I did that for 5 years in a row, and I think then they got tired of me, my poor PowerPoint skills. But that's exactly what it is. Garbage is gold. In every dump site, landfill, piles of waste, the litter you see on the streets, it's all gold, it's all resource, and that's all it is. So good garbage, as Richard said, is no landfill. Garbage is good. You just have to direct it correctly.
With that, as much as I would like this conversation to go on forever, and each time I talk to you, I'm a better person and a more knowledgeable person. So thank you for that. It's been such an exciting conversation. I can easily say I would like to be like you when I grow up. So thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to be on the show. Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you for having me, and second of all, don't grow up. It's a trap.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for having us, Ben. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Good Garbage podcast. Follow us on social media to never miss an episode. Links are in the description below. I'm your host, Ved Krishna. See you next time.